At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. You're watching Coffee with Krueger on this Tuesday, January 14th. Had to look at the calendar there just to make sure I got the day right. Don't want to give you the wrong information here. I hope you're having a good start to your Tuesday. You know, it's turned out to be a pretty nice day out there yesterday. And, you know, listen, we can sit here and we can, go into this mode of, oh, we need the rain, all of that, right? But I say, let's not worry about it just yet. This is normal for California. California sees this a lot, where we get a lot of everything and then it stops and then it kind of comes back. Sometimes it does come back, sometimes it doesn't come back. So essentially what we had here is a very good November and even December with the atmospheric rivers and a lot of rainfall, a lot of snow in the mountains. And we have a nice little reserve in the mountains and we have a nice reserve in our lakes. We're doing okay for now. But if we continue on the track that we're on right now, we maybe start talking about problems as far as droughts and lack of rain and fire danger as we go into the summer season. But it's still too early to start talking about that just yet. So let's get out there and enjoy this beautiful weather. It's going to be a beautiful day today. I do expect to see sunny skies. Winds calming down a bit, although they will pick up a little bit in some areas here, which we'll get into here in a second. Let's start with Krueger's Quickcast. This is just a quick look at your forecast for the day. For those of you in a hurry, just want to get a quick look at the forecast and you can be on your way. And then for those of you who want to stick around a little bit longer for a deeper dive forecast, that is what we're going to get ourselves into. So let's start with looking at the temperatures out there right now. Now, the winds have actually died down a little bit in Redding. They were in the low 50s just about an hour ago. Now we're down to about 46. 41 in Chico, 39 for Willows, teens and 20s for the higher elevations. It is cold in Alturas at 15 degrees, 19 for Chester. How about for those of you in Hoopa at 35? 35 also in Eureka and Crescent City, about 43 degrees right now. All right, take a look at out the door this morning and we have got a cool start to the day. 40 degrees in the valley, 30 in Trinity County, 20s for most of the higher elevations, and for the coast at 8 o'clock this morning, about 38 degrees. We still have that beach hazard statement need to tell you about. That is essentially the risk for sneaker waves. That is a concern. That's a danger. Just be aware of that if you're going to be on the beaches today and even tomorrow. So we still have that big ridge of high pressure in place. Now, you may have noticed yesterday a lot of the high and mid-level clouds, that really mainly just high clouds, that filtered through yesterday. We could see more of that again here for today, but honestly, I think we're going to see less in the way of those high clouds we saw yesterday and more in the way of clear skies here for today. Take a look at the wind gusts right now. And they're blowing a little bit here for parts of the valley and even east of the valley in some of those foothills. You can see the greens indicating winds in excess, gusts in some areas possibly upwards of around 20 miles per hour. So the winds are persisting in some areas, but overall, not a major problem. Now you can see those winds for today. Again, not a problem. There may be a couple of spots in parts of the valley, parts of the foothills east of the valley that could see some gusts upwards of around 15, 20 miles per hour. Now what I'm really watching though is later tonight and into early tomorrow morning. Notice the area we're starting to get more in the yellows in the east of the valley here. That's gusts upwards of around 25, 30 miles per hour. So we could see those winds amplify a bit here later tonight and early tomorrow morning for parts of the eastern mountains. Now, in particular, some of the areas that saw them yesterday morning, right? Like places like Bernie, Fall River Mills, Chester, Quincy, Paradise, Magalia, places like that that could be looking at some of those winds picking up. Am I expecting power outages? No, this is not going to be a major wind event, but you will notice an amplification of those winds later this evening and into tonight. So here's what we have in store for us for your Tuesday. Mainly sunny skies, maybe a couple of passing high clouds for some of us. Temperatures mid-60s, give or take. Some of us could get up to 67, 68, especially the north end of the valley. More like the low 60s, though, down to the south. 40s, maybe some 50s for the higher elevations, and upper 50s for the coast. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley, and we're going to actually notice a gradual decrease in our temperatures. As we go into the weekend, we're back down to the upper 50s, and we keep it that way for your Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. Some of you may have the day off. Taking a look at your 7-day outlook for the coast, inland, and Trinity County. Also seeing that gradual drop of the temperatures. For the coast, you're down to the low 50s by Friday and through the weekend, and even into your Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Siskiyou, Modoc, and the Eastern Mountains. Still a little chilly today. A slight increase for your Wednesday, Thursday. Then we're seeing temperatures drop again. Upper 30s, some low 40s for the weekend. And that's the case especially for Alturas, only getting up to about 40 for your Saturday and for your Sunday. So overall, I do expect to continue to see temperatures around or just below normal for this time of the year. But overall, still looking at those dry conditions, unfortunately. Let's take a look at some of the cameras out there this morning. We're looking at Lake Oroville. This is the live camera that kind of changes position every 15, 20 seconds. This one, not exactly the most picturesque. There, of course, you can see it kind of changed, and look at the lake over there. Here's another perspective of Lake Oroville North Forebay. There you can see, of course, the moon that is out there reflecting off into the water. A little bit of a blurry image there. Yesterday at this time, you could see that orange flag kind of flown in the wind there. Not necessarily the case this morning. Calmer winds. And the lake is looking like glass. You can actually, looks like see some ducks or something off there, the lower portion of your screen. So a beautiful shot there. Looking out at Main Street, Chico on Highway 32. You got someone who looks like on a skateboard or maybe a scooter getting ready to maybe head off to work or school this morning. Let's take a look at Highway 99 at Neal Road. And of course, traffic looks to be flowing smoothly there. Hopefully you don't have anybody on a scooter on the highway there, but you get the idea. Things are looking pretty normal out there as far as traffic is concerned. Highway 44 at Sundial Bridge Drive. As I always mention, this camera never is in motion. They do at Caltrans, but due to constraints with internet connections in the works, not everyone can have those moving cameras. Hey, by the way, I want to remind you, I've got some radio partners out there. Don and Heather in the mornings, 104.3 K Shasta. About 7:30 in the morning, do a weather update with them. Logan Kane in the AM on 106X, 7:50 in the morning. Do an update with him. And on KQMS, 1670 AM, 105.7 FM, and 104.9 FM. News Talk KQMS with Stephen Clark in the morning. Do a weather update with them as well. So if you're on your morning commute, on your way to work, or getting the kids off to school, you can listen to me on the radio with the latest forecast. Let's check in with everybody this morning and see how you all are doing. And we've got some of our regulars checking in this morning. We've got Catherine Schmidt saying, good morning, clear and calm and cold, 17 in the Castle area. I'm enjoying the weather. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the weather. I always like to hear that people enjoy, even when it's cold. And we've got a good morning from Barry Pina, I believe is how you'd say your name. Thank you for checking in this morning. We've got Esther saying crisp, clear and crisp in Eureka. Yeah, it's a little chilly there. I think I saw the temperature in Eureka right now, a temperature of about 35 degrees this morning. And we've got a good morning coming in from Curtis Brown this morning. I believe he is 7 miles west of Red Bluff. So thank you all for checking in this morning. Well, what do you say we get to the deeper dive forecast? And of course, as you know, Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without our sponsor, and that would be Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. All right, let's go ahead and get to those current temperatures out there right now. We're sitting at about 46 degrees right now for Reading. Now, the winds have calmed down there a little bit. It was in the low 50s about an hour ago. So as those winds calm down, what happens? Well, we start to see the temperatures begin to drop a bit. 41 degrees for Chico, 43 degrees in Oroville. Here you can see those temperatures in the teens. It is cold. Teens and 20s for many of us in the eastern mountains, even to the north. Mount Shasta City about 32, but colder in Wairika at 21. 43 for Crescent City, and there's that crisp and clear, cool morning out towards Eureka at 35. 32 for Willow Creek, and there's Redway with a temperature of about 42 degrees. Here's a look at your weather headlines. Now, these if I feel a need to change them, I will. But if I don't, there's no need to. So dry and mild this week. That's going to be the main headline for this week. Breezy and windy at times. Now, what we're noticing and what I'm noticing of this trend is that the winds we've been experiencing over the weekend, the last 24 hours for some of us, they're on a downward trend here over the next 24 to 36 hours. That being said, we're going to see another peak in the winds coming in late this week and most likely this upcoming weekend. So it will be windy at times over the next 7 to 10 days. But overall, no big changes going well into next week. And what I mean by that is we're not going to see much in the way of rain. Now, some of the long-range forecast models are maybe hinting at, toward the end of this month, a chance for some rain. Right now, I don't want to put any, I don't want to bet on that just yet. For now, I'm keeping most likely dry through this month. And the reason I say that is because we're seeing it kind of come and go toward the end of the month, but really nothing concrete coming in here for the end of the month. But certainly something worth watching here as we go into the next few days and really the rest of this week. Hey, let's take you down to Southern California, where of course the big concern has been the fires. You've got the Eaton fire at 33%, the Hearst fire at 97% contained, and you've got the Palisades fire at 14% containment. Now, what I'm also illustrating with this map here is this. You see these different colors? So if you had reds and oranges, what that would indicate, and what it would indicate, but it's not going to because we don't have any reds on the map, is that there is some recent fire activity, a flare up in the fire, if you will. Haven't seen any of that here with any of these three fires right here. What we are seeing though is the older data. What that's saying is that the satellite way up in space can detect heat at the surface. Okay, so the last time it detected any kind of heat for any of these fires, really the Palisades and the Eaton fires, you can see the yellows here, that's about 4 to 5 days old. So it's been about 4 to 5 days since we've seen any kind of flare up with these fires in the area. And the Hearst fire in particular, more like 7 days ago. So we are seeing some improvement there. However, the bad news is the winds are still a factor. We still have a red flag warning through midday tomorrow. So still very strong winds, very dry conditions here for the area. Here you can see these areas right here. That's where we have a high wind warning. This is where we have the wind advisory for the areas in blue here, once again through midday tomorrow. So let's take a look at those winds and see what we've got going on. Now, Los Angeles proper, mainly below 15 miles per hour. But look at all of the areas surrounding Los Angeles. We're still seeing a lot of the yellows, oranges, and reds. That's 30 to even upwards of 50 miles per hour. That's not what we want to hear about when we're talking about fires in the area. Then we take you into Wednesday. You see how we're still seeing those gusty winds, and still more of that Santa Ana type wind, a little less of the Santa Ana winds. Typically you want for the Santa Ana winds to develop and for really to have the defined or the term Santa Ana wind. Then you have more of the northeast moving down to the south and west. That's not necessarily the pattern here, but we're still seeing some gusty winds coming in from east to west. That's that offshore flow, which tends to be very dry and can kind of warm things up as well. But check this out. As we go into your Thursday, minus some of these exposed mountain ridge tops and some of those mountain valleys, we're looking at overall those winds finally starting to die down. That is going to be a big help when it comes to fighting these fires. Now again, we look at the fire weather risk. This combines temperature, wind, and humidity. Now since we're not necessarily looking at hot temperatures as we would typically in the middle of the summer, we're mainly just dealing with the winds and the low humidity. So as you can see at midday today, it's kind of lighting up in some of these areas where we're seeing those gusty winds. We see some relief tonight, early tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, it lights right back up again, getting in that high range here for tomorrow midday. But again, by Thursday, look what happens. We're not seeing it light up as much, meaning, again, really helping to illustrate the fact that the winds are dying down and the humidity won't be quite as low. All right, let's take you back home here in Northern California. So for right now, wind's not that bad. I'm going to take you back to that. I thought I was looking at a different map. Here you can see along the foothills, a little breezy in some spots here this morning, but nothing to be alarmed about, and a little breezy for some of us even in the valley. But we're talking 10, 15, maybe 20 miles per hour in some areas here. Then as we take a look at the afternoon forecast, midday, not an issue. We are seeing some areas of green. That's upwards of 20 miles per hour in some areas. Then we go into this evening. You see how it's beginning to amplify a bit. Now we're getting more yellows. That's getting closer to 30 miles per hour. And then going into tomorrow morning, we're actually starting to see the winds start to die down through the day on Wednesday. And then by the time we get into Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, look at this. We're mainly below 15 and even 10 miles per hour in most cases. So much calmer winds for everyone across the board, including the foothills, for your Thursday. That may change though later this week and into the weekend. You notice right here, we've got this big arc in the clouds. That is a classic setup for a ridge of high pressure. The clouds, the rain, all staying off to our west and riding up and over that ridge of high pressure. Now, we are on the east side of this ridge, and it is allowing within that flow some of those high clouds to move in. We saw that yesterday. We could see that again here for today, but overall, you're looking at mainly sunny skies with that ridge of high pressure. So a couple of things to note when we look at futurecast here. Number one, the overall trend is still this ridge of high pressure right here. That's going to keep us dry. Long range, we're dry the rest of this week and most likely through next week as well. But we're also seeing these disturbances kind of come down on the backside of this ridge. This could allow us to see those winds begin to pick up here later this week. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's take you through the rest of this week. Remember I was talking about how the winds are dying down going into Thursday. Now by Friday, look at this. Here's Friday around midday. You see right here, see how these lines, these are what we call isobars. And when they're packed tightly together, that's where we see those winds. So most of the winds on Friday will be to our north and east into places like Washington, Oregon, and Idaho and Montana, right? But for us, it may kind of spill over into our region, amplifying the winds a little bit for Friday afternoon, Friday evening. But really what I've got my eyes on is as we go into the weekend. You see that little dip right here? This is going to kind of dive down to the south. Now what that's going to do is allow us to see those winds pick up here, most likely over the weekend. See how we have these isobars kind of a little bit more tightly packed together? This is a north wind. We could see, I'm not expecting a major wind event over the weekend, but we could be looking at gusts upwards of around 30 miles per hour, give or take, for the weekend. That may continue into your Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but you see how it starts to shift eastward by Monday, Tuesday of next week, and that will allow the winds to die down again. So that's kind of in that line of what I was talking about, how we're going to be looking at off and on gusty winds at times over the next 7 days or so. So we can see the drier than normal conditions here as we look at the long range forecast here, the 20th through the 24th. This helps to support my theory and idea that most likely it should stay dry through the rest of this month. Again, some models, and you may even start to see it on some areas in social media, that we might start to see some rain toward the end of the month in some areas. Now, if we do see any, most of it does look to be over the Pacific Northwest. As you start heading south into Northern California, those chances may diminish. But that being said, a lot of times when we got that chance for rain for the Pacific Northwest, sometimes that can clip into Northern California for places like Del Norte County, Northern Humboldt. So that would be a better chance toward the end of the month. But bottom line, I'm not seeing anything all that promising. Now, with all of that said, there is concern to be in this drier pattern, especially this time of the year. And, you know, I've talked about this a little bit earlier. This is not uncommon for us to see a lot of the rain and snow in a short period of time, and then it stops. It's like Mother Nature puts on the brakes and we get nothing, right, for a long period of time, and then we see it kind of come back. So we're in that dry spell right now, and hopefully, as we would look at the climatology, that is, or the climate, we would typically start seeing more in the way of rain and snow in the coming weeks and months. Nothing guaranteed, but that's what we would expect for this time of the year. But as we all know, some years are going to be better than others. Now, with all of that said, we had a very good November and even December. A lot of rainfall, a lot of snow, and it brought us up some pretty good numbers. Now, this is something that I find kind of interesting when we look at the snow cover. Look at the North Sierra and Trinity. For normal to date, that's really the main number we want to look at here for normal to date. You'll see we're 127%. That's this area right here. This is where we've seen most of the rain and snow so far this season, is in Northern California. As you head south, there's been less and less rainfall, in fact to a deficit, which is why we have those fires in Southern California, at least one of the contributing factors with the dry conditions. Because notice the Central Sierra, right around here, now we're at 79%, and the Southern Sierra, we're at 57%. So again, just goes in line with where we've seen most of the rain and snow up here in Northern California, and less rain and snow heading down to the south. But bottom line, these are actually some pretty good numbers for this time of the year, especially up to the north. Now, what about the lakes? How are they doing? This is where we can really kind of reserve and hold some of that water. They can fill up from the snow melt and of course from some of the rain as well. Look at the historical average. We're over 125% for most of the reservoirs in California in general. So we're doing great, at least here in Northern California, at 126% for Shasta, Trinity, and 129% of historical average out at Lake Oroville. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay when it comes to water for now. But we're beginning to see some areas, in particular parts of Northern California, Sacramento, the Bay Area, where we're beginning to start to see it get below normal for this time of the year when we're talking about the amount of rainfall. Now, coming up in the next couple of days, I'll probably take a look at how we're doing for the season when it comes to rain. And it will illustrate, as I would expect, that most of us are above normal for this time of the year when it comes to rain. So we're okay. We're okay for now. We could just use some more rain, more snow in the coming weeks and months. Fingers crossed. Taking a look at your ski report, no big changes since yesterday. Still at about 100% open out at Mount Shasta Ski Park. Still have that beach hazard statement along the coast. Just be aware of those sneaker waves if you're going to be on the beaches here, not only today, but even tomorrow. Here's a look at your wave heights for today. Now watch what happens as we go into your Wednesday. It's not changing much, is it? Going into Thursday, we may start to see it retreat a little bit here. There you can see your north winds at about 5 knots. There are your waves for today, your high and your low tide, and your sunrise and sunset. All right, let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. And couple things you'll notice on the 7-day forecast for everyone: dry. But also, you'll also notice it's going to be a bit cooler as we go into the weekend. Let's take you out to Peanut with a high of 56, 57 for High and Palm and Ruth, about 63 degrees for your daytime high. Your North Coast neighborhood forecast: 62 degrees out in Miranda, 62 in Garberville, 59 for Honeydew, and 61 degrees in Red Crest. 58 degrees out in Ferndale, 59 in Fortuna, and it looks like Rio Dell, about 58 degrees. 58 for McKinleyville, 59 in Trinidad, 60 for Willow Creek, and Hoopa, about 58 degrees. Here's your 59 for Gas Key, 62 degrees for Smith River, and Orleans, about 61 degrees. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast: for Highway 96, low to mid 50s, I-5 corridor, your temperatures will be somewhere in the mid to upper 40s. Still pretty cool out in Scott Valley. Should only top out somewhere in the low to maybe some mid 40s, like Callahan at 45, 42 in Etna, and 42 degrees in Fort Jones. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast for central and eastern Siskiyou County: you can see about 46 in Tule Lake, 44 degrees for Weed, and 50 for Mount Shasta City. Here's your Modoc County neighborhood forecast with temperatures mainly in the 40s, 44 degrees for Newell, 45 in California Pines, and Cedarville, about 44 degrees. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast: look for a high of 49 degrees out in Bieber, 49 degrees for Fall River Mills. Bernie, you're going to actually see a slight increase Wednesday, Thursday before you drop back down again for Friday and into the weekend. Taking a look at the Lake Almanor and your Lassen Volcanic National Park forecast: around the perimeter of the lake, temperatures mainly in the mid to even some upper 40s. Down to the south, Paradise, a high of 60 today, 44 degrees for Susanville, and Doyle, about 41 degrees. Your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by our friends at Walgamuth Painting. Temperatures in the low to even some mid-60s for your daytime highs today. 64 degrees for Red Bluff, 62 degrees in Chico, a little bit warmer out towards Redding, about 66, as well as the city of Shasta Lake. Lakehead about 65, and Palo Cedro topping out at 64 degrees. So there's a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Those temperatures are going to start to slowly drop over the next several days. Should be in the low 60s, even upper 50s by the time we get into the weekend. And for your Martin Luther King Jr. Day, looking at those temperatures in the upper 50s. Well, that's going to do it for your forecast today. Hope you have yourselves a great day. If you have any more questions, feel free. This is what I love about what I do here, is that we're able to kind of get you a little bit more interactive, right? If you have questions about the upcoming weather or anything that's going on, put them in the comments. A lot of times you may have a question as we're kind of going into, I got to show you this right now. I'm seeing it right now. This is absolutely gorgeous. But if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments section for Facebook and also on YouTube as well. I can see those right here on my screen, and I can interact with you live, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it all. So we're going to leave you with a couple of cameras here coming in, and it looks like we have just some beautiful shots coming in with some of these local cameras. But that's going to do it for us this morning. Hope you have yourselves a great and wonderful Tuesday. Till then, we will see you tomorrow morning on Coffee with Krueger, starting right here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Have a great day.